Yes. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ronit, and welcome to the weekly masterclass with Juno School of Business. Today, we'll be discussing about B2B negotiations. But before I introduce you to the speaker and deep dive into this topic, let me help you understand what we do at Juno. So, Juno is your upskilling platform for all the skills that you need, right? And on this weekly masterclass, we'll help you with people, you'll meet people who have been in the industry for more than a decade or 2 decades. They'll share their journey. And the most interesting part is that you can ask them their doubts because not every day you get access to these people. And that's the bridge that we wanted to actually build between you and the speaker, right? So without further ado, I'll welcome Mr. Subid. Subid, if you can switch on the video.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hi, Ronit.
Hi, Subed. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation for the masterclass. Looking
My
forward.
pleasure.
Yeah. So, Sumit, before you start off with your session, I'll quickly introduce you to the audience. So, everyone, Subit comes with more than a decade experience and is currently working with Kalido and is a head of business development out there. He has worked with organizations like Coursera, right? Darwinbox, Accenture, and definitely B2B negotiations is something that he has been doing it for more than a decade. And we thought of bringing him here in front of you to help you learn B2B negotiations and also ask your doubts. So, whenever you feel that on any particular point you would like to deep dive, you would like Subit to maybe clarify your doubts, please feel free. And yes, without further ado, let's start off with the session. Subit, if you can help us with your more detailed introduction, because I quickly ran through for
Sure,
a
sure.
waste of time.
Uh, thanks, Ronit. Let me quickly share my screen
Sure.
and we can go ahead. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
All right. Firstly, thank you, everybody, for joining this live session with Juno School of Business. It's a privilege to be here and talking to some wonderful folks who are joining us. So my name is Subid Chakraborty, and Ron did a terrific introduction, but just a little bit about myself. I'll not spend more than 30 seconds. 12 plus years of experience in B2B sales, account management, and management consulting. Uh, Today, I am heading sales for an organization called Kalido. Just one second. Okay. Yeah. So I'm heading sales for an organization called Kalido, which is a B2B software startup, which specializes in talent marketplace, recruitment, all of that. In the past, I've been in B2B sales roles in organizations like Mesh, which is a performance management platform, Edcast, which later was acquired by Cornerstone, which is again a learning experience platform. And then in the past, also I've worked with organizations as Ronit mentioned, Darwinbox, Coursera, Accenture. My career started in management consulting. So I did my MBA from XLRI and straight away jumped into management consulting with Accenture. That's where the early years of my career was shaped. So working with B2B customers, understanding their problems, understanding their pain, trying to solve for those problems was something that I was doing even before I had considered a career in B2B sales. B2B sales was something that happened to me. I got an opportunity to work with the co-founders of Darwinbox who put their trust in me to head their north and east regions in India. And it was still an early stage startup, which later went on to attain great heights, become a unicorn and all of that. So I credit Darwinbox stint as my first foray into B2B sales and have loved it ever since and don't intend to leave it anytime soon. So that's in a nutshell about me. Now, very quickly, let's go into the agenda for today. So I know Ronit would have shared some highlights about what we're going to talk about. Today, we're going to focus on one particular aspect and probably one of the most important aspects of B2B sales process, which is negotiations. And we are, all of us, if I ask anybody, in the audience today, do you consider yourself good at negotiations? I think 90% would say no, probably no, because negotiation is a topic that we always try to avoid because it leads to confrontation. People interpret it as a zero-sum game. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. And it's a very tricky and sensitive matter when you're doing it, especially in the context of B2B organizational sales. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all these 5 points that you see. How do you understand the buyer's perspective? How do you build trust and rapport? How do you manage your buyer's expectations and show the win-win outcome? It's not a zero-sum game, but you can always both win in an outcome, and we'll show how that can work as well. And of course, demonstrating value. Not in any particular order, all of these come together, but typically when you go through a B2B sales process, you will understand, hopefully, and obviously a lot of you would have many years of experience in sales. This might seem very, very 101 for them, but if there are people who are planning to come into sales as a career or have just started, those will help as well. And for the people who are seasoned sales professionals, I'm sure you will have something valuable in the session as well when we deep dive into specific areas. So if you look at a sales journey, these 5 things typically flow in this sequential order, more or less. So we'll go into that. So with that, let me jump into the first 101 slide, which you can ignore. What is B2B sales? We are all doing it. So it's in any organization selling to an organization. It could be, hardware, software, services, any kind, or technology that is sold by one company to another. Very different from B2C sales. And hence a lot of challenges coming to B2B sales, because B2B sales, typically the processes are longer. You're not selling to an individual, you're selling to an organization. So you have multiple stakeholders that you need to understand, build rapport with, build trust, show value. So that's another. B2B sales processes are typically very long compared to B2C sales, which typically happens over the counter. It's a long process of building trust, understanding pain, addressing those pain points, and then finally showing value. And the other thing is B2B sales, the volume, the ticket size is very, very high. It can go from anywhere as low as $1,000 to $100,000 or even more in some large scale B2B deals. So it's always a very high stakes environment where we sales professionals typically get into. So that's B2B sales. Let's move to very quickly, what are the things that you typically do in B2B sales, right? From a B2B salesperson, you need to understand the service, the technology, the product that you are selling. You also need to understand what is the value proposition. What is the value that this product or service will add to the customer? You're not selling features, you're selling value. Also important to understand competitive landscape. Who are your competitors? Direct competitors, indirect competitors. You need to understand those as well. And there are many tools available in the market today for you to understand your competitive landscape. G2.com, Capterra, these are some of the things that come to my mind as well, that you can research and find out your competitors for your specific product or service. ICP is very important, ideal customer profile, because you don't want to sell to everybody. Just because you have a product or service doesn't mean everybody becomes your customer. So through trial and error in the early stages, and most organizations have already done this, the ICP is established. Who is the ideal customer? Who should I sell to? What kind of organization would be the best fit for my product or service? And the ICP can change over time. When you are let's say a smaller scale firm dealing in products and services, your ICP could be different. As you grow and mature and become a more enterprise level product or service, your ICP will change. So ICP undergoes changes over a period of time. One thing in sales, we always feel that if we give discounts, we'll sell more. I would like to oppose that, and I say that you should minimize discounts, because if you have established value of your product or service, you should not have to give discounts to sell your product. The buying should be an outcome and not the goal. And obviously, building strong connections with your customers is important. Ensuring long-term success with your customers is important. And this is what differentiates B2B sales from B2C sales. Because in B2C sales, you can sell and never see that customer again. But in B2B sales, it's always an industry, a segment, a sector where you typically operate in if you're a sales professional, unless you're switching domains. So you keep meeting the same customers, you meet the same people that you've sold to in the past, whether in the same organization or in a different organization. So it's always important to build those relationships and ensuring long-term success. It's not just sell and forget about it, right? You need to maintain your reputation. And for a salesperson in B2B sales, reputation is extremely important. So with those preliminaries out of the way, I know a lot of you would have done B2B sales masterclasses on skills. These are some of the skills I jotted down, which I felt have helped me. You can tick some of the boxes, maybe you tick all the boxes and more, but just for reference, putting some of these skills out there for you to quickly read through. I hope, Ronit, you would be sharing the slides with our audience so you
Yes.
can read those at your leisure as well. All right, now let me get into the crux of things and let me see how we are doing on time. Okay, perfect. So typically in B2B sales, I would use this diagram to talk about the overall sales process. A lot of it is done by marketing, right? Some of the early initial heavy lifting is done by marketing. So to create an awareness of your product for a product or service of your company in the minds of the potential customer, the prospect, a buyer is unaware, then marketing makes them aware. And then once they are aware, they start sending or showing them information around the product or service which could potentially benefit them. That is typically the role of marketing in the buyer's journey. So this is typically a buyer's journey, which I'm calling the B2B sales process. And once marketing has done that, then marketing sort of hands over that lead to the salesperson. And marketing obviously continues to do this on an ongoing basis. But as soon as somebody enters that funnel from an unaware to awareness to asking for information about this product or doing research about your product or service, that's when it's time for sales to come in. And when sales comes in, sales typically has these two broad buckets that it deals with. First, I have to take you from asking for information to actually start considering this product or service as a value add to your company, right? And that consideration part and the buying part, which I'll get into, once that is established, once you've got into a discussion, an evaluation, because most companies do a very stringent evaluation of the product and service or of the supplier or partner that they are planning to buy from. Once you've entered that evaluation stage, then you move into the buying phase where the customer is now ready to buy, and then you get into the negotiation process. And once that deal is done, the sale is closed, then the customer starts using your product or service, and then obviously become advocates, referrals, which is typically handled by the account management team, the key account managers, customer success managers in today's software SaaS startups as well. So that's typically the buyer's journey in a B2B sales process. Now, what we are talking about, the challenges that we face in negotiation, a lot of this is addressed by doing something called value-based selling. You're not doing a price-based selling or a cost-based selling, saying that, oh, this product is coming at X price, hence you should buy it. No, you need to sell value. You need to show value. So for that, obviously, research and homework is important. Once you've established your ICP, you know exactly what kind of pain points and challenges are faced by your ICP customers. And then, as I said, you're not selling features, you're not selling modules, you're selling a solution, something that solves for that problem. And in a lot of cases, right, the technology or the services that we deal with is fairly new to the buyer. Some of these have come in maybe in the last few years. So it's also about educating the buyer that what this product and service can do for them rather than pushing the product or service. So a little bit of pull rather than push. B2C, push works great. In B2B, not so much. If you start pushing in B2B, you might actually put off the customer. So it's more about pulling them in, showing them value, educating them, demonstrating what use cases your other customers have been finding success with, and that's how you communicate value. So that's some of the things that you can do. And obviously it's important for a B2B salesperson to drive that deal, right? If you are at the mercy of the buyer, saying that, oh, buyer says, okay, show me this, now provide me this information, now meet this person, if they are driving the process, then you're probably on a back foot. You should always take charge of the process. You say, hey, I am an expert, I do this every day, 100 times a year or more than that. Let me take you through what the process typically is. And that's how you guide the buyer on the journey, so that you control the reins of the process in your hands, not letting it slip. And ROI is a very important aspect. Everybody wants to know what is the ROI, return on investment. If I'm spending X dollars, I should at least get 5X benefits from that. So that is where the communication of value or value-based selling comes in. I believe we have a question. No. Okay. Ronnie, just let me know if there are questions so that I can actually then open that. And of course, your customer success stories definitely help. So now, very quickly, we saw what the B2B sales process was from a buyer's view, unaware to advocate. From a salesperson's perspective, what are those 5 stages? One, obviously, identifying leads, prospecting leads, preparation, presentation, demo, evaluation. And then 4 and 5 is, I think, where our session's importance kicks in, is the deal management process, the stakeholder management, the relationship building, commercial negotiation, closing. So a lot of you would want to get into 4 and 5 immediately and say, okay, now I have learned it, now let's close the window. But for a lot of you who are new, very quickly, I will take you through the first 3 steps and then spend considerable time on 4 and 5 so that everybody gets something valuable. Right. So identifying leads, right? For any solution or service, and I'm using product market fit because my background is typically from product sales. However, applies equally to services as well, and their relationships are even more important because you are depending on your partner, the supplier, on an ongoing basis to provide resources or to provide services. In a product, you sell the product starts getting used. Yes, you have an account management team, you have a customer success, customer support team, but the product is what is working in the organization, not your people for that organization. So it's also very important from service-led organizations. So product market fit is important, and this is typically for very early stage startups. When you've understood that there is a definite need for your solution in the market, then obviously you have a product market fit, and then that helps you identify what kind of customers will buy this product. And you can do segmentation, right? You can, so it's like defining for, let's say you want to get married, what should be the qualities in my partner, right? So what should be my ideal partner profile, right? So you can identify certain attributes like this kind of background, this kind of personality, this kind of education, these kind of hobbies, like you do for your partner, you can do the same for your ideal customer profile. And it's pretty much the same thing. B2B sales is like a marriage because it's pretty long term. Industry, you can segment by industry, you can do it by the nature of company, size of the company, by headcount, revenue. Geography could play a role. Are they fast growing? Are they mature, stable organization? Any external factors, right? Any compliances, environmental, social, political factors affecting that particular kind of companies, and hence your solution makes more sense today. And of course, whether they have a need and whether they have the budget, right? If they have need but no budget, that's not your ICP. If they have a budget but no need, they are also not your ICP. So all of these factors, or at least most of these factors, should check out to build your ICP. So you can actually do this exercise after this session to figure out who should be your ICP, right? What industry, what headcount, what size, budget, need, is there urgency? All of those you can do. And typically most sales professionals would know it as BANT. The BANT is something that every sales professional uses as a thumb rule to qualify, disqualify prospects. Sources of leads, these can come from various sources. Most organizations have a pretty strong marketing effort ongoing. So events, conferences, trade shows, websites, LinkedIn networking, referrals, direct marketing, all of those are terrific for identifying leads. Personally, LinkedIn for me has worked out very well. And even events and conferences and trade shows are a fantastic place to identify leads as well. I'll take a quick pause to see if there are any questions.
Nothing as of now, Subid.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move to, and please feel free to stop me at any time to ask questions. Be happy to take those questions as we go along.
We have a question, Subid. Srinath wants to ask. Srinath, if you
Sure,
can
Srinath.
as well as maybe switch on your video.
Yeah, thanks, Ronit. Uh, good mornings. So I have one question regarding the budget. So when we talk about band analysis or ICP, at the very start of the engagement, how do you address or how do you qualify this? Because let's say we identify the pain point or the budget, definitely the deal is not going to materialize.
Yes,
So,
yes, very important. I think budget maybe very early you would not know, but there are a lot of proxy indicators to know if that particular company would have budget or not. One very easy way to do that is to see how are they doing business wise, right? Are they a profit making company? Are their profits growing year on year? Are their revenues growing year on year? Are their headcounts growing year on year? Right. So that gives you an understanding. Are they hiring a lot? Right. Do they have a lot of open jobs? So you know that's a growing company, and then they would probably have budget. The other good proxy is to look at what other tools and systems they are investing in. Right. Are they using something like a Salesforce? Are they using an ERP solution like an SAP or ERP or Oracle, right? Or are they using some marketing tools? Are they spending a lot on social media? So you know by through these proxy indicators that whether this company would have budget for your kind of solution or not. So I think those are some proxies that you can even determine without even speaking to anybody in the organization. And obviously, when you start speaking to the customer, obviously you get more information about the state of business and how budgets are, but even proxies can help you identify that.
We have another question from Suresh.
Sure,
Suresh,
Suresh, go ahead.
you can unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you. So I just have one small doubt. Again, on the budget point of view. Say, for example, if there is no budget, go and do a demand generation there. Okay, because like they have got a budget, but still can't we go and pitch our product? I was just asking.
Yes, you can. If so, I think it's not that all these factors should check out, but some of those factors, and BANT is a very fairly good way of qualifying, disqualifying. Maybe somebody has the budget but does not have a need today. Could be, right? They have already signed up with a particular vendor partner, and the contract is there for another couple of years. So they don't have a need right now. You can try to replace them, but if they're happy and satisfied, it will be tough. But in a year down the line, they could have the need again. So obviously, it's important to keep them warm. As you said, demand generation activities are extremely important to keep those customers warm and maintain that ongoing relationship. That's one. The reverse could be true. They have a need today, but they don't have a budget. So probably they will go for a cheaper solution. Could be. But the budget could come tomorrow, and then they might want to upgrade their system or their services. So that's when you come in. So again, keeping that relationship warm through demand generation, one-on-one connects with those stakeholders is also important. Okay.
We have another question from Ankit. Ankit, if you can unmute yourself.
Suresh, hope that answered your question. Okay, sure, Ani. Ankit, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So basically, I am from agriculture industry, and here the clients are not that much educated. So how can we tackle that? How can we know their budget and all those things?
So education, I don't think is so. If you think if you're referring to English speaking as education, I don't think
No,
that.
no, not in that sense.
Okay.
Basically, they are not that much technocrat, you can say. So their digital presence is not that much. So how can we tackle that, sir?
So here is what I would say. So anybody who's running a business and successfully running a business, I think they are fairly well educated. They may not be aware of certain technology. So that is where I think the education aspect of it comes in. And sometimes when you try to educate people, people might think, oh, you think you know it all. I have been running my business for 20 years. Who are you to teach me and tell me about my business? That's a very thin and balanced line to walk. But anybody who's running a business, whether they are, 12th fail or 12th pass or an MBA, it really doesn't matter. As long as they understand the dhanda and they're doing it well, you should give that person enough respect for doing it, however they are doing it. Now, you can say, this is how you've been running your business for the last 20 years, but this is what has come in and this is what your competitors are doing, or this is where the trend is going. Would you not like to take upon that trend, see if it can add value, and thereby grow your business? Any smart businessman would take that opportunity. So I don't think it's really, education level or language or technology savviness. It's about understanding what is driving their business and then appealing to logic and reason and that value-based mindset in your buyer to say, this is what you've been doing. It's been working great for you, but this is something that can get you even better profits, better margins. Why would you not do that? It becomes a no-brainer when you're able to show value, and that goes across the board, whether you're selling to, a Fortune 500 CEO, or if you're selling to a Lala in any business who's running his own company, you can do that. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Ankit. Suresh, do you have a follow-up question? I think you raised your hand once again. Or can we proceed with it? Suresh, are you there?
I'm there. I'm just sorry.
No
So I
worries.
understand there is basically on the B2B negotiation. I still wanted to understand because like as the presenter is going through the basics also, I have one small doubt and I wanted to understand that. So because like in any sales, like storytelling is something which is the most important part. That would be the initial stage of every sales process. Can you
Sure.
just give a small insight on how a storytelling has to be? Because like for any client, that would be the proper gate to enter in. So can you just pour some insight on that? That would add some value.
Okay, good point.
Sorry if it was out of the context, but
No.
just
I think all questions are valid. Let me try to address and answer that as quickly as I can, but happy to spend more time on it later if time permits. So I think there are two kinds of stories you can tell, and storytelling is important because people may forget the names, the numbers, the product features and modules, but if you build a story around it, it definitely resonates and is remembered. Two kinds of stories I have seen typically work. One is stories of your existing successful customers, right? Could be from the same industry, could be from a different industry, and you tell them that this company was there at this stage, this is what their problem was, and then I met so and so, and then this happened, and then that happened, and because of that this happened, and then they finally implement the solution, and today this is what they are doing, and this is how successful they are because they made that switch or change in their viewpoint at some point of time. So that's a story of from here to there kind of a thing, which is your existing customer stories. It's also important to personalize and humanize the characters. You can do that for yourself. You can do that for your customers who you're talking about. People remember those things as characters in your story. So that's one. The second is a great story is about your company and your product, how the product evolved, how the company started, right? What drives this company? What are people like in this company, right? What is the culture of that company? So you can tell stories about your product, your services, your culture as well, because after all, it's like a marriage. So the families should also align, just not the two people getting into it, right? So the background of that company, are you both in the same kind of mindset of growing your business, or are you some kind, you're just profit minded, or you're just, worried about growing at any cost? What kind of mindset do you bring? Are you an ethical company? What kind of culture do you have? What do your employees love your company? Do you yourself love working for your company? Those kind of stories can also humanize yourself and your company to your prospect, and they remember. And I have seen one thing, and I'll move on to my slide after this. Authenticity is extremely important in sales, in B2B sales, right? And that is because no matter how good a salesperson you are, if you're constantly bluffing and making up stuff, the person on the other side has 15, 20, 30 years of experience. They have seen hundreds and thousands of salespeople like you, right? They are able to tell when you're being genuine and when you are just fluffing. So try as much as possible to be authentic, because the moment you're authentic, that shines through. You and I can sit on the other side of the table and know whether this person is genuine or authentic. No matter how good a salesperson you are, we'll always catch that. So authenticity, though it might seem a little oxymoronic in sales, because in sales we are always trying to say our product is the greatest thing ever built on planet, but authenticity is very important. Build your product up to be one of the greatest things, but also humanize yourself, right? That, hey, this is where we faltered in our last deal because of this, and this is what we've done to rectify that. Or this customer left us because of this happened, but then they are still a very valued part of the family, and we will love to work with them. So whatever those are, humanize yourself, be authentic. That's I think a great way to tell a story about yourself and your company. Okay. All right, let's move very quickly in the interest of time. Prospecting, I'll not spend a lot of time on. All of you do it day in and day out. Multiple channels, calls, emails, cold calls, cold walk-ins, all of that happen. Qualify, most important is learn to disqualify as well, because you cannot sell to everybody. And if you're going after everybody, In B2B sales, you are spreading yourself too thin. You will not be able to provide that personalized selling experience or buying experience to your customer if you're handling more than the number of customers you can handle at one point of time. So it's very important to disqualify. BANT, as I said, is a very good way of disqualifying customers or prospects based on whether they have those 4 elements or not. And hence, disqualification is very, very important, more than qualification. Don't spend time on prospects which you know will not mature in the next 6 months. Typically, B2B sales cycles are 6 to 8 months, sometimes more, but 6 months. If those are not maturing in 6 months, move on. Don't waste your time on that, right? Objections come in at a very early stage when you reach out to somebody, cold calls, cold walk-ins, not interested, send me more information, we have somebody else, I'm not the right person. All of these are valid, right? These could be true or untrue. The buyer just might want to just get rid of you, right? We all keep getting calls on our phone and we are very, very disturbed when somebody's trying to sell us a loan, somebody's trying to sell us a credit card or whatever. So how do you deal with those rejections? So even if you get 60 seconds, right? If you get 30 seconds, ask for permission that, hey, I am so-and-so. Ask a question. Would this help your organization achieve that, right? If you're talking to the right person, that is something that is always on their mind. How do I improve this? How do I solve this? And if you ask that particular question, which is their pain point, and for that you need to do all the research and ICP stuff that you do before, if you open with that question, if that person is the relevant person, that person will say, yes, sure, this makes sense. This is a problem that I have. What do you have for that? And then you ask to go into a quick 30-second value saying, this is what we do for our customers. Would love to take some time from you, have a proper meeting. That's it. I'm not interested is probably because you did not do a great job at selling that value in those 30 or 60 seconds or in your opening email that you send. Send me more information is again something that people say to get rid of you. Ask more questions. What information do you need? Why do you need it? Are you going to share it with somebody in your organization? Who are you going to share it with? I will accordingly share the relevant information. Otherwise, what's the point of sharing, some box standard information that's on the website anyway? So this starts qualifying and pushing back the prospect saying, oh, and you can also be upfront saying, when people say, send me more information, it's typically to get rid of me. But is that what it is? Then I can come back in 2 months. We have a vendor for that. You can also ask, okay, that's great. Are you happy with this particular vendor? Just because they have a system or a vendor doesn't mean the door is closed, right? Ask, are you happy with them? If you know your competitors well, you know that vendor has certain problems. You could ask those questions. Are you facing this problem? So you can go deeper into it. Let's say they say, no, we are completely satisfied and super happy with that vendor. Okay, great. That's fantastic to know. We would love to be in touch with you if ever you need me. That's perfectly fine, because this, I'm absolutely happy with my vendor. You would probably hear 1 out of 100 times. Otherwise, everybody has some kitch with their vendors going on, right? So you dwell on that. And if somebody says, I'm not the right person, I don't deal with what you're selling, please, could you connect me to the right person? So take that as the stepping stone to reach out to somebody else. Could you please drop a line? Could you please introduce me, right? If you're not the right person, who is the right person? Let me connect with that person. So these rejections keep coming. These are some ones that, are common in our life. But if there are others, we can deal with those as well. But typically, you have to deal with those initial objections because you're asking for somebody's time and attention, and that's very precious to them. So unless you give something back in those 30 seconds, 60 seconds in that opening email, why would they even want to listen to you? So time and attention is extremely important currency. So try to communicate value, probe, show a problem statement and how you deal with solving it, and hopefully you will get that foot in the door to enter. All right, let me move to this. I'll share this. LinkedIn is a great way you can convert. There are tools for that as well. You can use those in terms of the typical numbers of conversion between cold calls, cold emails, in-mails, and what kind of reply or response rate can get you your target. So you can do a back calculation. This is the target I have to hit. These are the number of customers I need. These are the opportunities for that. These are the number of emails and cold calls I need to do with XYZ conversion rates. So you can work out that as well. And it just sort of keeps you going on that. All right. Discovery is a very important part of the sales process and this also feeds into the negotiation piece, which I'll come to very quickly. If there is a need, right, you'd start probing that, right? What is the need this person has? And this is typically in the first conversation, not the 30-second, 60-second phone call, but when you have, let's say, 15, 20, 30 minutes with the person that you're talking to, understand what their current pain point is, right? Ask them more information around that pain point, right? You know it, you know what problem they could be facing, but get more specific into it. And then what is it costing them, right? Living with this pain that they are in, what is it costing them? So there you get an idea, right? How much of cost savings you can provide, right? How much of benefit, additional revenue you can help them achieve. And that also gives you a ballpark for what kind of budget that this person would be ready to spend. If you're saving somebody 10 lakh rupees annually, right? No brainer, they would be happy to shell out 3, 4, 5 lakhs even to get that 10 lakh benefit, right? So you get an idea if you are able to ask them to quantify the pain that they are living with, right? Why is this an issue? So again, band, but in a little more depth, right? It's not just a tick box anymore. You're going into it. Why is the pain so important right now? You've been living with this pain for the last 5 years. Why does it matter now? Is your market share slipping? Is your stock price dropping? Are people leaving your organization? What is the pain right now? Are your customers unhappy with you, right? Your customers are unhappy with you. So what is changed that you are giving me this time to delve into this? So urgency is established. And then also important to build that one-on-one relationship, right? Building that trust and rapport. You open up, you are authentic, the buyer opens up, buyer tells you. How is this affecting this particular person I'm talking to? Not the organization now. I'm dealing one-to-one. How is this affecting you? You are the IT head, you are the finance head, you are the HR head, or you are the business head. How is that impacting you as a person? Is it giving you stress? Is it hampering your chances of a promotion? Is there, a little bit of disappointment in your team from your managers? How is that affecting you? And then you know what is that person's personal motivation to solve this problem. And that person then can become a very strong ally and an advocate for you as the deal matures. So discovery is extremely important to understand where is that need and why is this need important? What is the magnitude of that need or pain that you have? All right, a discovery call, I will not go into it. You can plan. There are multiple templates I can share with Ronit and he can share with you as well. How do you go into depth of understanding that pain? And this is what I was trying to sort of cover through understanding the buyer's perspective, right? And building trust and rapport. If you're able to do that, if you're able to show that you are really invested, not in selling, but solving a problem for them, a pain that they have, that builds a lot of trust and rapport. And trust is very important in any field, right? And especially in B2B sales. So those are some of the things. I know a lot of you would have read, heard about spin selling. Spin selling is essentially packaging what I was trying to say in a very neat way. What is the situation my customer is in right now? What is the problem they are facing? What is the impact of that problem? So when I was saying quantify the pain, why is it urgency to solve this? So that is the implication, right? You implicate the pain. Like, what is it leading to? Problem hai, I can live with the problem. But what does it mean? How is it impacting the organization? How is it impacting me? So you implicate that pain. And then why is there a need to change, right? And that gives you a benefit. So Spin Selling is a beautiful book, very easy to read, talks about this exact same concept. Understand the situation, identify the problem, go deeper into the problem and implicate the impact, and then why you need to change. So that's something that can, nudge your customer moving into the direction that you want them to take into. So stages of spin selling: investigation, demonstration, commitment. All right. There is a question from Ankit. Yes, Ankit.
Yes, Ankit, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Basically, I have one doubt, sir. People say that sales वाले को तो मतलब मूर्ख बनाना आना चाहिए. Sir, is it relevant? कि मतलब he should be.
Yeah. Okay. So good question. I think देखो B2C sales and B2B sales में बहुत difference है. In B2C sales, yes, sure, why not? आप कुछ भी बेच के आ जाओ, आप कभी वहां वापस नहीं जाने वाले, right? You'll never go back. Maybe you will, I don't know. But in B2B sales, it's a very tightly knit environment, right? It's sort of a community. right? You will meet these people over and over again. This person was head of IT here, that person is head of IT in a different organization when you go to sell them, right? And that person will remember you. If you've done this kind of thing with them, it will help. So I'm not saying that you have to be 100% honest. If you start being 100% honest, we'll never be able to sell anything. But again, don't go to an extent where if you know something is broken, you still go ahead and sell it. Because then if it's a solution and a product which I am, have been selling, even if I manage to sell it, that customer will not be successful with that product. The product will break. There will be tremendous pain for my team who's handling that customer in account management or customer support role. That customer will become a terrible pain for them, and it's going to sap their bandwidth and lower their productivity. I will meet my targets and I'll get my bonus, but I'm causing tremendous amount of pain for my team, for the customer, ruining my reputation, ruining my chances of getting a referral. Think about it from a long term. If you're just thinking about your quarterly goals in B2B sales at the cost of relationships, probably not the smartest thing to do, because you have to think of a career in B2B sales and not just one quarter. So that is why I would say, don't blatantly lie. I can't advocate somebody saying, go and lie about everything, but no, give people the respect. Obviously, some people are unaware or uneducated about your product, and you know better than them, so you know how to maneuver a discussion. But I do not advocate making somebody a fool, because someday the fool will realize they've been fooled, and then that's when your luck runs out. To be honest, referral is very important, and all these CXOs have their own private personal WhatsApp groups. The moment you go and pitch to them, they'll put this vendor's name on the WhatsApp group and ask, what is your feedback? And say, oh, this person sold me this product, terrible product, don't ever buy it. You're out of the contention immediately. You will not even get to see the person. So reputation is important. Authenticity is important. Obviously, you sell your product as the greatest thing on the planet, but yes, don't go so overboard that it comes back to bite you. All right. Let's very quickly, preparation, meeting, demo, handling. I'm not spending a lot of time on this. This is something we do. This is essentially operationalizing.
From Jiten.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see. Yeah, Jiten, go ahead.
Yeah, Jiten, if you can unmute yourself.
Sir, Pradam, sir, telling a lie is not, miss, you have asked us to not to tell lie, but telling truth is also not, telling all the truth
Of course.
is also not possible. Like
course.
there are so many terms and conditions, hidden terms and conditions
Yes.
are involved, are involved. So later on, when they came to know that there were so many terms and conditions hidden in the sales, and that was not disclosed to us.
Yeah.
So will it be? How can we solve it? Means,
no, but so that is what I'm saying, right? What would be the impact of that? So you sold it. There were hidden terms and conditions which you overlooked or you did not communicate. And then once the customer realizes, what is the cost? Can the customer get out of the contract? Then that's a loss for you. Then that impacts you personally because you lost a customer immediately. Second, if the customer realizes later, how much of a pain will it be for your team to handle that customer who is now pissed off? You can then have to go and give them additional discounts, additional benefits, just to pacify them, not to escalate further. Today, you have a problem with a system or service, people go on LinkedIn and rant about it individually. Are you ready to deal with that reputational loss? Social media has become extremely powerful for both good and bad. Are you ready to deal with that kind of a reputational loss just because somebody wanted to, meet their quarterly target at any cost? So I'm not saying, sales is showing value, yes. And for that, you show the value, and obviously you minimize the downside of your product. Probably there are better products in the market, but you focus on your strengths and their weaknesses to sell. I don't consider that lying. But when you blatantly say that, no, this is free of cost for the rest of the year, and then the customer realizes, no, this is not free of cost, I have to pay additional fees for this, that's blatantly lying. And that's going to have impact. So I would say don't do that, because it loses reputation and credibility for you as well as your company, and who's benefiting out of it at all. So I don't think so. If you think of sales as a quarter, only a quarter, or only one customer, fairly go ahead, do that. But if you think of it as a career that spans over multiple years, and reputation in that industry is important, so that the next time you go to that particular customer representing a different organization, they will still buy from you because last time you were genuine and authentic with them and sold them a good thing and told them what the downside could also be, right? So they will remember you for that behavior, and you will again close them in a new organization with a new product. But if you've cheated them fair and square, you will not get that opportunity again. So it's a call that you have to make personally, short-term versus long-term thinking. Now, that's what I'm saying. Think of it as a career. Think of it at least as a 10, 15, 20-year-old career, right? Then you know what you should do today versus what the result of that would be. So yeah, all right. All right, I'll skip this section. Let me get into the main crux now. And I think, all right. So when I was talking about B2B sales being different from B2C sales, and I think a lot of these things that, some of you asked questions about became very important here. The deal process is extremely complex, right? And there are multiple stakeholders you need to manage. In B2C, you're selling to one person. In B2B, you are selling to at least 6, 7, 8, 10, even more. If it's a committee, if it's, a panel which is evaluating, you're selling to so many people. So what is important is you need to first map every single decision maker / influencer, right? Influencer in the sense that person may not be the decision maker, but can say something positive or negative about you, your product, your service, which could influence the final decision maker. So you should know who all the decision makers are. You should know who all the influencers are, right? And it's important to map every single one of them. Sometimes you may not get 10. And that is why a salesperson in B2B does not deal with 100 customers, right? At one point of time, maybe they are dealing with 10, 15 maximum. Even if you're very productive, you're in one moment you're dealing with 10, 15, because 10 deals, 10 stakeholders, that's 100 stakeholders on your mind every day. So you understand, how much you can process and pay attention to. So it's important to map every single decision maker, influencer, what their roles are. And as we were talking about, getting that one-on-one perspective with them, right? Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they may not entertain you. They'll only come in as a group. But if you can map them one-to-one, understand their own individual perspective. Why does this person care? What is this person's role in the process? If this is successful, what does it mean for this person? Does this person get a promotion? Does this person get a raise? Does this person appear great in front of the organization, gets a CEO's medal, or gets a special recognition? What drives them, right? Is it promotion? Is it recognition? What drives them? Or do they genuinely want this problem to be solved so that their team can be more productive? Whatever be that. So identify that buyer's perspective, that individual person's perspective, and then start building the rapport. Identifying their role in the org's goal, right? What is at stake for them, for the organization, in their role as well as in their personal life, personal goals, right? What would that give me? So both as the role they are holding as well as the person they are in. So both of those matter. And one way to do that is every time you meet them, right? They have articulated a pain, play it back to them, right? Because the moment you keep playing back their pain and say, do you remember you had said this to me, right? This solution or service is going to solve that problem that you had mentioned one day. Or this is what's causing you sleepless nights today, or your team's motivation is dropping because your current system doesn't work. You remember having told me that? This will solve that problem. So anytime you're talking about a feature, anytime you're talking about a module, keep playing their concerns back to them, saying, this solves for that. And obviously, you need to have your homework done. You need to have your notes, all of that in place, and a very structured process. But you keep playing back their concerns to them so that they know when they are making that decision that, oh, this will solve that problem for me. So try to become a confidant. And this is extremely important in B2B sales. I've seen some people do this very, very well. They become your source of information, insider information. They will tell you, Subid, the company is also evaluating X, Y, and Z products. You should be careful. Or, we had an evaluation with X, Y, Z. This went well. This didn't go well. So you should be able to find, not all the 10 stakeholders will be your confidant or will be your person on the inside, but somebody who trusts you enough right? And knows that your solution will add value, A, to their organization and or B, to them personally, they will become your confidant because they have a motive now to get you, your solution, your service into the organization. So you could find one or two people like that in every organization in the deal process. So become their confidant, let them share information with you, which you will never have access to, because all the decision making happens behind closed doors. You don't get to see that. You don't even get to know that until the outcome is determined. So that person on the inside, your advocate, your inside person, will communicate everything to you, and you will be better prepared. So that's also a very useful thing for building relationships with people, right? And again, same thing, right? If you cheat a person, that person will never become your confidant in any deal in the future, right? This organization, next organization, that person may switch, you may switch, your paths may cross, they'll never trust you again. So yeah, don't cross somebody like that. And as I was saying earlier, right, you should guide the buying process. And this has happened to me, right? When I am depending on the customer to come back to me and say, okay, now we have this evaluation, now we have that evaluation, I have already lost it, because now they are dictating the terms, and maybe somebody else, my competitor, is driving the process now behind the scenes. I don't get visibility. So I need to be in the driver's seat to say that typically this is step one, we've done step one, this is step two, we will do step two next week, and then upcoming is step three and step four, which will lead to final closure. Are you aligned with this? And keep reminding that we've done step one on this date, step two we did on this date, step three and step four are still pending at your end. Let's get this so that we can start implementing and start rolling out by whatever date. And okay, I have this line here, authenticity shows. So I was talking about that. It always shows. We are all smart people. We read people very well. That's what we do. If you think you can understand somebody, they can also understand you, right? So authenticity plays a role. And typically, don't do one-on-one mapping alone. Like you map with 10 people in the organization, have backup. Have your junior, have your senior, have somebody from the tech team, have somebody from the customer team, customer success team. Map multiple people. So even if you don't have a great one-on-one relationship with person X, maybe your colleague, or not your colleague, maybe because you probably sales is an individual thing, but somebody in your team could have a one-on-one with that person, or maybe your manager could have a one-on-one with another person. So do multi-threading, right? Not just you against all the people, but let's say three of you, your boss, you, and your team member, mapping against those five, right? So then even if one relationship fails at some point of time, the other two can take care of that, right? So that is multi-threading. So that's very important. And one more thing about stakeholder management here is, and I sell mostly HR solutions, right? So obviously HR is my primary buyer. HR head is my primary buyer. But sometimes, depending on the context, the finance head becomes a part of the process, because finance typically controls the budget to an extent. So HR head, finance head. It's an HR solution. It's a technology solution. So the IT head now becomes involved, and along with the entire IT team, security and compliance team become involved. So IT team becomes part of the process. Already three heads. Business may want to see what value you're adding. At some point of time, the head of business, the CEO, might want to know what value you're bringing. So sometimes the chief business officer or operations head may become a part of that stakeholders set. Finally, when you go into the closing the deal, most large organizations have procurement. So you have to deal with that as well. So apart from all the mapping that you've done only with your functional team, you need to deal with HR head, IT head, finance head, business head, and procurement head, right? So all of these stakeholders have a role to play, different roles. Finance will see, oh, cost benefit, fine. IT will see security, compliance, privacy, tick, 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 different ask. Business will see how quickly can I get value out of this. Procurement will see how much can I minimize this vendor's cost compared to the other vendors, because that's my KPI, right? How much have I got a reduction in their initial quote to the final quote? So have those things at the back of your mind anytime you're mapping a stakeholder, because all of them have a role to play, and your deal can fall through at any place if you're not keeping that in mind. So we've lost deals due to finance head not approving, business head not approving, IT head not giving approval, and rarely with procurement. But if you're not able to show value early on, then you can't defend your price. And procurement keeps on asking for a higher and higher discount, and at some point of time you'd say, no, this is a walkaway price, we can't go any further. So all of those things need to be kept in mind. I'll take a quick pause just to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'll move into the last part of it.
So we can move ahead.
All right. This is something that I found very useful and this is a little complicated thing. I'm not a big fan of it, but just to keep as a ready reference is something called MEDPIC. This I was made aware of this methodology or framework in a past organization, which has stuck with me. MEDPIC is essentially an acronym for metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, process, paper, contract, pain point, champion, competition, right? MEDPIC. You need to have, for each customer that you're talking to, all these things either noted down or in your mind. What is the metrics that you're going to influence, right? I sell an HR solution. Is it going to improve attrition rate? It is going to improve recruitment time. What is it improving? Is it doing cost savings? It is doing revenue increase. Whatever is it doing? What are the metrics that my solution is solving for or impacting? Who is the economic buyer? Who holds the purse? Who has the budgetary authority? Identify that particular person. That's very, very important. On what grounds will your product and service be judged? Functionality, if you're a tech product, user interface, user experience, easiness of use, ease of integration, security, compliance, cost. What are the factors that will be evaluated in the checklist that they are going to use to, evaluate you and a few other products and services? So get to know what the decision criteria is. Again, your person on the inside should be great help, but typically most organizations give you a general idea what their decision criteria is. What's the process? How many people do you have to meet? How many sessions do you have to have? IT head, finance head, business head, procurement. What is the process? Know the process in advance so that you know what the timelines will be for that. And you're better prepared. And it's best to take charge of the process, saying, okay, this is your process. We are here. Now we want to do this. Now we want to do that. Now we want to do this. Now we want to meet this person. That is the next step. So you can drive and push the deal along, because sometimes deals get stuck because there is no urgency on their side. So you need to be driving that urgency. Contract paper is important. Again, legal thing. Oh, I forgot, legal also plays an important role. Another head that comes in, legal head. Again, your paper versus my paper, your contract versus my contract. Come to a middle ground depending on your power in that dynamic. Can you enforce your contract, or do you have to accept their contract or all of their terms and conditions? That's something you also should keep in mind early. Like, what are those red lines that are non-negotiable for you and non-negotiable for them? So have those things in mind, because those will come up and could derail unless you address that. Identifying pain, this obviously comes much earlier, but again, because they wanted to make it MEDPIC, that's why pain comes later. But identify the pain, implicate the pain, indicate the pain over and over again. Keep playing it back to them that this is the pain you're trying to solve. Remember, this is why we started talking 3 months ago, 6 months ago in the first place, right? This pain still exists. Nothing has changed. So why are we delaying on this right now? So you can always come back to that pain anytime you see the deal lose momentum. Champion, spoken about it. Who are the people who are your advocates in your absence? You may not be in the room when the decision is being made. Who is there to say, no, but that particular product or that particular salesperson was right and their product solves this problem? You need somebody to speak for you in the room when the decision is being made. That's your champion. And in every deal, you should at least have one champion. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get through. And how do you build rapport with that champion? Being authentic, identifying the pain, understanding what role this person has to play in the organization versus what their personal motivations are, and building that bond for long term, right? And finally, competition. Competition is very tricky. You know who your direct competition are, which are there in the external market. You know, X product has A, B, C competitors, very easy. But there could be competitors elsewhere as well, which you don't see. Maybe there is a certain budget with department, which another department is identifying, right? You are selling a solution, but they already have something internal which could take over that, right? So the competition is anybody who wants that budget for themselves. It need not be an external competitor. It could be somebody inside as well. Maybe your solution that you're selling, the internal IT team wants to build a solution on their own. IT wants that budget. So the competition is internal now. It's not external. So anybody who has sights on that budget is your competition, and you should know who those people are. So Medpick, I have found it's a little cumbersome to manage, but if you get into you just keep an Excel with tabs and different customers, it's fairly easy, and it becomes a habit after a while. So Medpick is very important. Finally, last part, commercial negotiation and closing. Now, if you've done all the other things well, right? If you've understood the pain, if you build enough trust, if you've mapped the stakeholders, if you've shown the benefit that can accrue, if you've shown that value, then commercial negotiation should be the least painful part of the deal process. But it rarely is, because we don't do all of those things well. That is when at the end it just becomes a question of price. You lessen it by XYZ, we will give it to you because we are not fully certain. But if you've been able to establish that value, show the benefit, then commercial negotiation should ideally be a no-brainer. Okay, you're giving me this benefit, this is your cost, I can clearly see the delta, I'm okay to buy, right? So the question is, when should commercials come into the discussion? I think you should have an idea about the budget from the initial stages, right? And sometimes people say, they'll ask you in the first meeting itself, what does it cost? I don't see a problem sharing that price of your product, right? But do it only after you've got some idea about the size of the pain, the size of the budget, right? Otherwise, there might be a little bit of dissonance, because they say, oh, this will help me save 5 lakh. Your product comes at 10 lakh. I'm just using very silly numbers here. But if your price of the product is more than the pain that is costing me today, I would not probably buy it. So try to understand and implicate the pain. Like maybe they think this is only costing them so much by living with this problem, but maybe there are other implications of that particular pain which they are not able to realize or quantify. So start making that number bigger in their mind. It's not 5 lakhs, it's 15 lakhs. Because the moment you lose one person in your team, you lose productivity, you lose notice period, you lose, when the person comes on the training to get that person back into a productive mode. So all of those hidden impacts of the pain are sometimes missed. I just look at the number which I can see on paper, but there are multiple other numbers that could impact and increase the size of that quantum of pain. So understand and establish that, and then go into that. How to deal with procurement is something I have put in as well. And this is typically one of the most painful processes outside, I think, legal paperwork, which mostly salespeople don't have to do, but sometimes you do, depending on the organization you are in. Dealing with procurement is a pain, but they are also very smart people on that side. They have a very one-point agenda: reduce price, right? But procurement is not an expert on your product or service. They are not functional experts. So they don't know whether this product, is benefiting my organization and by how much. That communication, that feedback should come from the functional team. Now, when you come to procurement, their only point of agenda is, I want to reduce price. Yes, you've got a good feedback from the rest of the teams, but now you have to come to my playing field and reduce the price. So what I'm going to do is, for the next few minutes, try to show you through an example that negotiation need not be a zero-sum game, right? It should be based on some principled arguments. It should not be that just because you are the procurement of a Fortune 500 company, you can steamroll and make me reduce costs by 50% or 80%. That should not happen. Or just because I am a great salesperson and you are maybe a new person in procurement, I can bulldoze and get a better price. It should be based on some principled arguments. You want to maximize the size of your price or the benefit that you bring to your organization, but it cannot be at a personality level. You can't fight people on personality, right? Somebody is aggressive, somebody is docile. You can't always depend on that. So you need to have some principle arguments, some logic in your method to this madness. So typically, before I go into procurement with a CFO has certain important things they want to check. ROI, if you've done an ROI calculation of your product, which is again return on investment, how much is the cost, what is the benefit, or how much is it lessening the pain. So if you've been able to quantify that, and there are multiple ways in which you can take assumptions, build models to say that, hey, based on what information you have, and ask them for information, right? What does it cost to do this? What does it cost to do that? What is the cost of not doing this? Get all those numbers as much as possible. Take assumptions, put it in a simple Excel sheet and show this is the cost of the pain, this is the price of the product, this is the ROI, one divided by the other, right? So that's something you can simply do to show to the CFO that you're prepared. References, case studies, all of that also help convince the CFO that this product will be a successful, hence I'll sign the check. Last thing that the negotiation with procurement is, and this is where I'll use an exercise to show it should be a more principled exercise rather than a personality trait thing. So if everybody is on the call, let's answer this question. And I've taken a very simple example. There are two players, Rohit and Virat, and there is some tension between the two. And let's assume BCCI rewards them based on the number of runs they score. So as many number of runs they score, that many crores of rupees they get paid, right? Fairly simple. I score 100 runs, I get 100 crores. Now Rohit and Virat, when they play together, typically they score 200 runs together in a partnership. In what ratio should Rohit and Virat split this 200 crore? Assuming if Rohit bats independently, that is without Virat, he only scores 40. And when Virat bats independently without Rohit, he scores 80. So Rohit and Virat individually score 40 and 80. When they come together in a partnership, they score 200. How should Rohit and Virat negotiate this 200 crores if they play together? 4 options, A, B, C, D. Any answers from the audience?
Yeah, people can use the chat and we can see that there. So there is a response by Srinath, 100 is to 100, option A.
Okay.
Option B, option C.
Okay.
Okay.
I think most people went with 100 because
Okay, we have takers for all the options.
all the options. Okay.
Now option A gets repeated again.
Yeah, I think that's the most common answer we get, that 100, they should split this equally, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has said
also
D.
has, two
Yeah.
takers for D.
Okay, so I think I will say there is probably a right answer, but this is not the only right answer. So let me explain what I mean. And I'm just going to show the solution that I believe in. The first question is to ask yourself, what is the pie? And this is the pie that procurement and the seller is debating on, right? Pie, if you define it, and this is a concept that's not my concept, I've also borrowed it from some book that I read somewhere or something that I saw somewhere. The pie is what is the benefit minus the cost, right? So that's the net benefit. So in this context of cricket, what is the benefit of these players working together minus benefit player 1 gets individually minus player 2 gets individually. So if the total benefit they get is 200 and player 1 by himself or herself is able to do only 40 and player 2 is able to do only 80, you subtract that out of the pie. Well, you subtract that out and you're left with 80, which is the net benefit that both of these people get, right? Individually, I can do 40, individually, you can do 80. But when we work together, the net benefit that we together get is 80. And then if you go by the most equitable standards, you should split that pie, that 80 into a 50-50 ratio. So then what do I get? What does Rohit get? Rohit gets half of the pie plus what he was going to make individually. What does Virat get? He also gets half of the pie plus what he was going to make individually. So Rohit gets 40 plus 40, 80. Virat gets 40 plus 80, 120. And it's possible for them to walk away saying, why should I settle for 80? I want 100. Virat could say, I want 150, or I could ask for 160. But the thing is, if you don't work together, then Rohit gets only 40 and Virat gets only 80. So net, there is a win-win for both of them by working together and splitting the pie in an equitable manner. So taking this example, and I don't know if you agree with this logic or not, to me, it makes sense. If you're able to identify the net benefit of working together, so I and my customer work together, what is the net benefit that we both get, right? Minus what is the cost of us working alone or cost of you living with the pain. And you can use, what is the net benefit minus the pain today minus the cost of my product, and you can arrive at the pie, and then you can split the pie in the most equitable, fair way. So you can use that. And what is the downside of not following this, right? If you don't choose to work together, then you choose to live with the pain and you are only satisfied with your individual payoffs. Rohit has to go back home with 40, Virat has to go back home with 80. But coming together, you get much more. So I will close with that. Happy to take any questions. Sorry for overshooting, but happy to take any questions or any feedback.
I think the last slide is great. We have so many memes out here. One from and great, Zig Ziglar. Thanks for sharing this. So maybe you can stop sharing your screen and then we
Sure.
can take questions from others.
Sure, happy to do that.
Cool. Yeah, people can raise their hand. I'll unmute you people and you can ask your question directly. We already had so many questions. So yeah, we
happy, and all great questions. So thank you. Makes the session interesting as well.
Happy to take more questions as well. So we have a question from Sahil. Sahil, would be great if you can switch on your camera as well. We love to see you every week.
Hi, Ronit. Love to see you as well, and sir as well. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Sir, as you are selling the HR solution,
yeah,
the way I am selling is the calling solutions. So what we are doing, we are basically have a smart computer program which can talk to people, and we are automating their incoming and outgoing calls.
Sure,
So
call center operations.
It's an AI. You can say call center operations. Yes.
Sure.
So we have this is an AI conversation tool. AI conversation.
Yeah, got it.
Which we are selling majorly to every industry right now.
Got it.
What happened is, sir, two things I just want to know is we are doing the cold calling because LinkedIn is the only way that through which we are, as you are heading towards the HR heads, I targeting the admission heads. Okay.
Sure.
So my point is first how to drive the conversation every time. That is one thing I want to learn. If I have, okay, they said me that we have given the demo, everything is done, and they even like the product. Then they said that we'll do it in the next. We'll have a meeting with the board of members. Then we do it in the next week. So the conversation is driving by them. So that is what I want to learn on or elaborate with what are the steps that I should take, because I don't have to make that I don't have to put a pressure on that person as well. Like, no, sir, tell me right now, or like, tell me in the way.
Yeah. Of course. I think so. Sahil, I would say, it's not an answer that I can give you maybe in the 1 or 2 minutes, but I think it's a combination of all of that I was talking about, right? One, obviously, you identified your ICP. Thanks, Shan. You identified your ICP, right? So this kind of organization needs your product and service. Do more research in terms of what is the pain that they face without your solution, or with a competing solution, which may have certain things, but may not have certain important things that your product or service offers. So have that handy. And then once you have your foot in the door, once you start a conversation through cold calls, cold emails with somebody, start with the pain, right? And don't talk about anything else. Don't talk about the origin of your company, how much money you have raised, how many customers you have, who you are, all of that. Forget about it. Start, and depending on who the stakeholder you're talking to is, if you're talking to the functional head, or you're talking to the IT head, or you're talking to the procurement head, depending on who you're talking to, start with the pain, right? So this is the pain that you're living with. This is what it's leading to. This is what a solution is able to do. So bless you. So it's that simple, right? Those 30 minutes that you get, you're able to understand the pain from them, show how your product or solution is meeting that pain. If you're able to do that well, the rest of the conversation and the next steps become easier. And obviously, you can't let it run on autopilot. You have to take control of that particular deal. But if you're able to show in the initial few couple of conversations that our solution solves a particular problem, right? You're not buying it just because you have, I want to sell this to you, but because there is a genuine need. So once you're able to establish that, then they start taking you seriously. Then you go into the next stages of evaluation with the different functional teams, the different technical teams. And then obviously you continue to do what you do best, continue to reiterate the pain and the solution that you bring, build the rapport, build those relationships, and keep pushing them in terms of, you promised this, this is the next step, here we are waiting for that. Have you forgotten the reason why we were talking in the first place? This is the pain we are solving. So I think it's not something I can answer, but it's, I think those elementary steps done over and over again in the correct manner. And again, to each his or her own style, right? Everybody has their own unique way of dealing with people. And I don't think there's a right or wrong to it. Whatever works best, that goes naturally with your personality, you should do that. Obviously, we can improve as people and in our skills, but I think you can't really fundamentally change who you are as a person. So use that to your advantage, right? If you talk too much, use that to your advantage. If you're more of a listener, use that to your advantage. Whatever be your nature, extrovert, introvert, use that to your advantage. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. Thanks, Sahil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Suresh has a question.
Sure.
Suresh.
Thank you for the most insightful session. So I will just spark my final questions here. So, irrespective of any industry, you pitch to any number of customers, even your primary sales pitch itself, their primary question would be like, "What's the price of your product?"
Sure.
So my doubt is should we pitch the pricing at the first, or do we need to deliberately say no to it, or how to handle that if a customer is asking for a price at the first meeting itself?
Yeah. Good question, I think, and maybe I should have spent a little more time on this. See, I think for most products in the same category, the broad range, right? Your customer also knows the broad range of pricing, however be your pricing model. And it could also be on your website. If you're a SaaS company, sometimes the pricing is on the website, maybe the enterprise plan is not. I think what's important is to not dodge that question, answer that question, but how you answer is also important. So you could say that we have a tiered pricing plan, right? Basic, premium, super premium, something like that. But you start with the super premium, right? So you can say, if you take all the fantastic features that we have, this is what it's going to cost you. This is a super premium plan. But maybe if this is too high for your budget, then what we do is we'll take out 5 of these features and you come to the standard plan, right? This is priced at Y. But if this is also not within your budget, then we'll take another 5 features out and we'll come into the basic plan, which should be in your budget. So what you've established, again, these are not my brainchild. These are all well-established sales techniques, which I have read, learned, whatever. So what you do is you're showing them what they're losing by not paying you that super premium plan. So you show them what you're taking out of that plan to give them a standard plan. And then you again take out something from the standard plan to show them what's the basic plan. So now they're not so much worried about the reduction in cost, but they're worried about the reduction in features. So that's, I think, one great way to talk about the pricing. Tell them what's the most expensive, best, greatest ever plan you have, which includes everything. And then start taking away features and functionalities to give that, fear of missing out, FOMO that we call. So I think that's a good way.
Sure. Thanks, Suresh. Gaurav has a question. Gaurav, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, sir, most of the time, what happens when our deal is about to close, and this means our product is through the technical team. even the user is okay with our product, but finally when it comes to the final negotiation part, so most of the these purchase managers they try to squeeze you off.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
want more like चलो जाते जाते और क्या डिस्काउंट ये कर सकते हैं, दे सकते हैं. But if but अभी कैसा है कि सब all we have means we have given our final deal to them.
Yeah.
Okay. So then also they will say that your competitor is giving more discount than you, and we are going with your competitor. So they try to play with you. So how to identify whether they are going with you or they will be taking the competitor's product? But most of the time I have come with the surprise that they have chosen my product, even though I have not given the last minute discount to them. So what are the indicators in order to identify that?
I think one good and very good question, Gaurav, for that. So I think, see, if you are meeting procurement, right, you are one of the top finalists for sure, right? And you can also tell by the way the procurement team deals with you whether you are, the highest rated vendor from the evaluation or not. So you get some idea from that. The other thing that I would say is, because you're dealing with multiple stakeholders throughout the process, right? आप पहले पर्सन ए से मिलोगे, वो बोलेगा अच्छा ये तो तुम्हारा प्राइस है, क्या डिस्काउंट? You give 5%. Then you meet person B, who's maybe higher in authority, and said, okay, you've given whatever price to him or her, but now I am taking you forward. What is the discount you give? So you give another 5. And then the third person you meet, finance mein, you give another 5. And then you meet procurement, who you give another 5. So instead of doing this 5 times or 4 times, hold on to your price till you meet procurement, right? And be completely transparent with whoever you're meeting, saying that, hey, we understand it's a B2B sales process. Multiple लोगों के through जाना पड़ेगा. End में purchase आएगा. So this is the price that I'm keeping for now. And then once we get to purchase, we will give that discount. But don't ask me for a discount now. Then I'll have to go and give another discount to purchase, because purchase has only one KPI, reducing the price. That is their job, and there's no point hitting them for it, right? That's what they're supposed to do. So don't give early discounts. Absolutely. Take it to the end, till the very end, and then whatever discounts needs to be made, do that. And also, Gaurav, if you've been able to establish वही जो मैं कह रहा था ना, pie, the benefit that your product brings, and if you're able to quantify, sometimes quantifying in a number is very difficult, but if you are able to quantify as well as possible, and sometimes because of so much data, I would say maturity that most organizations have, they're able to put a number on it. At least they know what the cost of that pain is. So if you are also able to articulate that, कि देखो आपका तो इतना पेन का खर्चा आप भर रहे हो every day, और living with the pain is costing you so much. Compared to that, this is what my pricing is. तो आप ROI तो अभी immediately 1 divided by other calculate कर सकते हो. So I think showing value from first step to the last step is important. Also, to avoid giving multiple discounts at every gate is important, because if you start giving discounts at every stage to every person, then obviously your margins will continue to drop. So I think it's important to hold on to your pricing till as late as possible till you meet procurement, क्योंकि वहां पे आपको एक token price discount देना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, it will not meet their KPI. And that is where the last exercise what I was doing is, how do you split that, right? This is my cost. This is the benefit I'm bringing. Let's split that pie, the net benefit, and give you that discount. Procurement bhi khush, aap bhi khush, because you tell them, I know you want a discount, you have to take a discount back. This is what I want to take back, so that we both are happy. And instead of dragging that procurement discussion for days and hours, you should be able to close it in 15, 20, 30 minutes, saying, आपको discount लेना है, मुझे अपना product margin पे बेचना है, ये net benefit है, let's do it this way. They are happy, you are happy. If you are a choiced vendor, you should get through. It's not as easy as it sounds, but yeah, I mean, that's probably a good way to go about it. So, thanks, Gaurav.
Thanks, Gaurav. Yashodhar has a question. Yashodhar, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hi, Subid. Hi, thank you, Ronit. It was a very informative and reassuring session. I'm mostly from the service side. After the sales team completes their deal, I have to service the client. So,
which is the painful part, I understand. Yes.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Yeah.
So, um, I'd been working on several projects and we had very good clients and all there, but this one particular client, which has been very rude and arrogant and trying to arm twist the sales team, by demeaning the execution and the products. Okay, so. And he's very rude and insulting in his conversations, so I had faced a similar client when I had my own company and I had been working myself, and I ended up not working with that client, and then eventually that client closed shop also. Okay, I don't know, I'm not saying it is because of that reason or whatever reason, but here the client, this guy is also threatening me, I'll leave your brand, I'll leave your company and all. मेरे मन में आता है कि उसको बोल दो भाई छोड़ दो ना मैं क्यों इतना तकलीफ ले रहे हो और दे रहे हो. So one of the answers I got from one of the masterclass sessions was like, maybe I don't know, I was very clear or not, but one of the answers was that he massaging the person's ego. But here it is a very different, very emotional situation, or maybe emotional and all mixed. Because I am delivering, it is the best product. I have got appreciation from everyone, and only this person is like hellbent and being rude and unnecessarily creating troubles for what I don't know. They want to keep arm twisting the sales team for this reason. I don't know.
I think this is very common, and it's a problem and pain that we all live with. I mean, people are of different kinds, so you get great customers, you get painful customers as well. I think two things that I would say. One is, are you willing to live with this painful customer, right? And sometimes sales makes a call that it's not my headache, it's the account management team's headache, right? They will deal with that. After I'm done selling, it's fine. But sometimes I think you also need to keep the overall company's health in mind, whether this will be a big pain for you going forward as a customer. This is a customer who will never be happy, who will always twist you into more discounts, prioritizing their escalations, asking for new product features, or threatening to quit. So is it worth having, right? Is that? And I understand for early stage companies or companies who are badly in need of vital revenue, you take on a lot of painful customers in the early days. You can't say no, right? But once you've established your credibility and presence in the market, then you have earned the right to say no to certain kind of customers. You don't say no rudely, of course, that's not what you do. You tell them that maybe we are not the best solution for you. I can recommend some other solutions. So, but only when you get to that level where you are able to politely decline certain customers. That's one. So how much of pain are you willing to live with? Do you need that revenue today? Then live with that pain, right? Otherwise, if you don't, please feel free to politely decline. That's what I would say. And I think this also comes, Yashodhar, to the ICP part, right? You can look at other aspects, but you can't know who the stakeholder is going to be. So maybe that stakeholder is only a temporary problem for now, but the company is a great fit. And the stakeholder might move tomorrow and the pain might go away. So you also consider that. But if it's not an ICP and a painful stakeholder, then it's a double problem. The other thing, and this is from a personal experience, this is not from some sales jargon. I have dealt with people like that and I continue to do, lesser and lesser probably. But one thing that I have found is breaking that person through either kindness or a sense of humor, right? I may have a persona that this salesperson will come, I will be rude to this person, I will make life hell for him. I'm not saying I'm proposing Munna Bhai here, but either you break that person with kindness and your politeness, the more rude he is, the more kind you are. That's one approach, which some people are not okay with doing because everybody has their own ego, and probably in sales, it's best to leave the ego outside the door. The other, what I found, where you preserve your dignity and ego, or ego, but preserve your dignity in an interaction, is by breaking that person's this facade of rudeness through sense of humor. And I know we are over time. I'll just finish this in 30 seconds. Once I was in a meeting with a very, very rude, CXO, and my engineering head was next to me, and the person was, almost verbally abusive, right? Almost like there, saying bad things about us, our company, our product, our founders. And my engineering head, who doesn't deal with customers on a regular basis, he was like literally about to burst. And I said, like, this is getting too hard to handle. So I don't know how it happened, but I got a small, window. The person paused after, giving that verbal rant, and I found something funny to say back to him. Just like, trying to see what it does, because otherwise somebody would explode. Either I would have to say something not so nice, or my engineering head would get out of the room. None of those options were there. So I said something. He had said, and if I can quote, he said, if you cannot deliver on XYZ things, I will hold you accountable. I will sue you if you cannot deliver in the next 30 days. This is something, one of the lines he had said. And then next moment he said, I don't trust your abilities. Give me this job. I will do this in 5 days. You can't do it in 30 days. I will do this in 5 days. I said, sir, with due respect, you said if we can't deliver in 30 days, you will sue us. So now you said you will do it in 5 days. Can we still sue you back? And I said it in a nice way. And that broke his facade. Suddenly he changed. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll meet outside and I'll take you for a drink or something. So suddenly that person who was just barraging us with these insults, the moment you sort of change that power dynamic by easing the room's tightness and tension with humor, I have found is a great icebreaker. If you can do that, and again, don't crack jokes to make people laugh, but find an opportunity to say something uncomfortable under the guise of humor. That has worked for me. And that helps you preserve your dignity as well. So I'm not saying be sarcastic, be cynical, but just find that right balance. If you can do that and try it somewhere, I don't know, it worked for us. And then that situation completely diffused. Things calmed down. We worked with that person. All went well after that. But yes, I have found that as a very practical example from my personal experience. All right.
Great. Thank you, Yashodhar. Before we wind up the session, Subid, wanted to understand, you have mentioned about books, right? And a lot of people out here would like to hear what kind of books they can
there are lots of books.
Sales negotiations.
I have actually put a list of the books in the slides, but let me just quickly.
Sure. People can take a screenshot out here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just put it here. Let's go to the last slide. I have put these books. So let me just expand this a bit. Sorry. Yeah, can you read this? So I put some of these books here. So Challenger Sale, Tipping Point, 12 Rules. So these are not typical sales books. I mean, those Challenger Sales and Spin Selling, all of those are there. But these are books I think I have found overall very helpful in building my approach and my, I would say, my approach towards sales and people. Atomic Psychology of Money, Siddhartha, for those inclined slightly towards deeper meaning of why we do sales apart from earning money. Influence is a great book. How do you influence people, by Cialdini. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, slightly controversial, but extremely gives you perspective. Tipping Point, always a great book by Gladwell. Future Shock by Alvin Toffler, written 50 years ago, still very, very relevant today. And Challenger Sale. But I can send more recommendations as well. These are my top 6-7 books that I would recommend to anybody, professionally, of course.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I'll share the slide with them as well.
Sure.
So yeah, on that note, we would like to conclude the session. Thank you, everyone, people who are still there on the call patiently. And thank you, Subit, once again for, there's something about your voice. So patiently that you have been telling the stories, the anecdotes, everything in detail, right? So thank you so much for very patiently doing this session, an elaborate session for almost 1.5 hours, right? So thank you so much for that. Sure. On that note, wanted to thank everyone out here who are present, and also people who are watching us live across our social media handles. We'll be back once again next week, next Saturday, 12 to 1 p.m. with another speaker who would like to share their learning and you can also implement those learnings into your career and be as authentic as possible, because that's a key area that we discussed today during today's session, is that authenticity goes a long way, right? Because you meet the same kind of people. People do change jobs, they change organizations, and you keep meeting them. The more authentic you are, you increase your chances to win that another deal, right? By just being yourself, just being authentic, just playing by the legal side of things, right? Just being legitimate. So thank you so much, Subit, for mentioning that again and again, because that's a great learning for us. And as you also mentioned, that buying should be an outcome, not the goal. Here at Juno, our goal is also that learning should be an outcome, right? The only thing that we request is that please be there for this session. Please do show up, and definitely we'll ensure that you go out from the Zoom call with at least one learning for the day, and which you can implement in your career. Right. On that note, thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you a great weekend. Thank you so much, Subit, once again. On that note, this is Ronit from Juno School of Business signing off. Thank you so much.